Good morning, one and all. This is Dr. Nabil Ahmed, and we are going to be looking at how do we do business in Indonesia, starting from the setup until the processes involved in working in Indonesia from an entrepreneur's perspective. So this is our presentation schema. We're going to have an overview, introduction, company registration formalities, and once the company is registered, investor would like to have a property to do business in. So we'll understand the procedures of registration of property, import, exports, that's trading across borders, land rights, labor law, trademarks, transfer pricing, and some statistics in Indonesia. So, brief overview: Indonesia is a transcontinental country situated between the Indian and the Pacific Oceans and is approximately consisting of 17,000 islands. The major income group are under the lower middle income group, and it is considered the fourth most populated country by having 267 million as a population. Jakarta is the capital city, and Indonesian rupiah being the official currency of Indonesia. And just to understand the exchange rate, a dollar today is worth about 14,900 Indonesian rupiah. Its domestic market offers a wide range of investment opportunities for both foreign and domestic investors. Being the fourth most populous country, it's still supported by good political and economical stability and is considered one of the emerging markets of the world. There's an ample and increasing talented workforce underpinned by the world's first populated country by the world in the country. Formation of company can be broadly subclassified into three formats. One is a local company, it's a foreign company, and a representative office. Next few slides will understand the details of each one of them. A local company is straightforward, which can be set up by a local citizen of Indonesia. A foreign citizen who's also holding a dual passport, which one of his nationality is also Indonesian, he will also be eligible to set up a local company in Indonesia. Foreign company, a foreign-owned limited liability company is a legal entity that can be fully owned by foreigners. However, the maximum foreign ownership is determined by the business sector and the business activity. The restrictions are listed in the regulation called the Indonesian Negative Investment List. And representative office, commonly considered as a branch of a foreign company, the purpose of this legal entity is just a marketing activity. They will not be able to do any direct selling or any revenue generation. They can do conducting market research, or it's a preparation for the establishment of foreign owned company, or they can do certain marketing activities of their products in Indonesia. But as we discussed, there is no direct selling allowed for representative office. And these are the criterias and the timelines and the cost involved for setting up a foreign company. A reservation of a company name takes less than a day, costs about 100,000 Indonesian rupiah, and obtaining the clearance from the company's for the company's name at the Ministry of Law and Human Resource takes about less than a day, but electronic application can be made and the reply can be received and the approval can be received online. Pay the non-tax state revenue fee for legal services, less than a day. It also ranges somewhere between 400 to 500,000 Indonesian rupiah. And next step is the major step where you will have to arrange for a notary to obtain the standard form of the company deed and notarize the company's documents. That ranges between 500,000 to 4 million Indonesian rupiah depending on the notary public that is chosen. That's a one-day activity. And make a company seal is also one day. So the first 5 steps can all be done in a day if it's done simultaneously, or you'll have to go through each one of them, which can take maximum 2 to 3 working days. Next step will be application for the certificate of domicile, which takes 2 days. Apply for a single business number, which takes a day, and register with the Ministry of Manpower (MOM). The company shall submit a labor report to the Ministry of Manpower and Transmigration or the appointed officer within a period of not more than 30 days as the establishment of the company, and apply for the Workers' Securities Program and for the Healthcare Insurance Program takes a day, and obtain a tax registration number and a VAT collection number, which is applied to the tax authority, which takes generally between a day or two. And with that, they are all set with the formation of the company. Now, coming to registration of property, trading across borders, and land rights. Looking at property registration, the steps and the time involved registering property, assuming there's a standardized case of an entrepreneur who wants to purchase a land and building that is already registered and free of title dispute, and are as follows. First, application of the land certificate examination at the land office, which takes 3 days. Payment of transfer and acquisition taxes. Then validation of transfer tax and the central tax office. Execution of the SPA, the sale and purchase agreement of the land deed with the head of the National Land Office, which takes 5 days. registration of the land deed at the local land office under the name of the buyer, and finally registration of the land deed. So in principle it takes about 25 days for a foreigner to have a property registered in his name, provided there is a title free of any disputes. Trading across borders, the time to export generally takes 2 to 2.5 days, and for the documentary it takes about 3 days, and time to import clearance takes about 3 days, and time to import for documentary compliance takes about 4 days, and there is various of costs. So it's in general, in terms of the timelines globally, this is not extremely high. It's also within the standard rates for import clearance and export clearance of documents. Regarding land rights, it also is important to understand slightly more insights on what are the foreigners allowed to do and what the foreigners are not allowed to do. So Indonesian land legislation does not recognize the concept of freehold land, so it's only leasehold. So instead, various rights attached to the land are divided into separate elements and are subject to separate titles. So if you see, the right of ownership is an inheritable right that can be held only by Indonesian citizens. So therefore, foreigners will have three basic rights, which is called as a right of exploration. So in the case of agricultural land which is owned by a foreigner, the maximum duration that he can hold the land is for 35 years, extendable for another 25 years. So within 60 years, at the end of 60 years maximum, he'll have to return the land back to the landowner. Right of building. So if a foreigner would like to buy a building and buy land and construct a building and operate his office and his business from that building, he's eligible to hold that for a medium period of 30 plus 20, 50 years, not more than that. And in the case of Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Resources, for the purpose of having mining ownership, the land right should be registered in the land register at the National Land Agency, and it is subject to approvals from MOE and MR, that is Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. Labor law, trademark, and transfer pricing. So as per the standard labor law, the standard working hours per day is 8. The maximum number of working days per week is 6. There's a premium for overtime work, which is at 75% of the regular pay. And paid annual leave is 12 days per year. And dismissal due to redundancy is allowed by the labor law. So it's a quite flexible labor law from the point of an entrepreneur, and it's not too cumbersome for him to understand when he wants to get people on board for getting started with his work. Trademark registration is also very quite simple. The trademark registration costs close to about 45 million rupiah. There's an application that has to be made, a power of attorney and letter of statement of the trademark which has to be signed by the company's director on the stamp duty, and attach a copy of the identity card and the tax ID number which was obtained at the time of incorporation of the company. So with these three basic documents and a payment of 45 million rupiah, then you go ahead for registering a trademark in the form of word, symbol, or combination that act as a distinguishing factor for goods and services for enterprises. Transfer pricing, just like every other country, Indonesia also follows a transfer pricing law, and the method of transfer pricing are the standard methods, which is also followed by many other countries, which is comparable uncontrolled prices, RPM, resale price method, cost plus method, profit split method, and transactional net margin method. There are various unilateral and bilateral and mutual agreement procedures which has to be followed for the purpose of understanding transfer pricing in Indonesia. There are multiple agreements with respect to that, and in case of any local dispute, including application for a tax objection, appealing to the tax court and requesting for rejection and cancellation of administrative sanctions is allowed in Indonesia. Certain statistics, if you want to understand, the GDP has been on the rise since 2010, though only marginally. 2018 has been good in terms of 1 million in GDP. All the numbers are in millions. 2015 saw a dip in its growth, but 2018 has achieved a good number, and 2019 is going to be looking good as well. However, 2020, because of the impact of the COVID-19, every country is going to be struggling in terms of their GDP numbers. Trade deficit and surplus, and import and export. So if you look at the light green and the dark green bar diagram, the light green bar shows the import and the dark green bar shows export. So if you see Indonesia, we wouldn't be able to say it's predominantly an import oriented or an export oriented country, because you can see all the bar diagrams are more or less up and down in various years. So if you see 2010, the imports have been less, but the exports have been on the higher side. But the next following year is the same, but 2012 the imports are more and the exports are less, and so on. So Indonesia, we could say it's on par from import and export, and not a major importing or an exporting country. But in terms of trade surplus or deficit, 2018 has been a bad year for Indonesia because it's got a trade deficit in that year compared to the other years. So foreign direct investments also had been growing since 2009 after the global recession until 2014 and 15. And after that, with the laws and regulation in Indonesia, the foreign direct investments had come down in 16. And with the confidence given by the ministry in Indonesia, it has rebounded 2017 and 18. So I would like to give credits to Harish Kumar and Anand for this wonderful presentation. Thank you. And looking forward to meet you guys in yet another interesting presentation next week. Thank you.